They'll be in order. The first item on the agenda is a roll call. So, committee members, all in person, John Tagg.
Anna Board.
Stephanie Terman.
Allie Doyle.
Jeff Letwin.
Michelle Smianik.
Lori
Jen
Miskorsky.
Jen Liptak.
Joe Totten.
Yeah. Thank you. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the July 20 minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Seeing no corrections, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we're going to hear from Philip St. Pierre, updates on the October 1st changes.
Good morning, committee members. I'm Philip St. Pierre. I'm Director of Transit Scheduling at PRT, and today I'm going to give you a recap of the major service changes that are going to occur on October 1st, 2023. First, we're going to start out with the first iterations of our PRT project for PRTX. So this is a reminder that on October 1st, we have 4 routes that are going to be short turning in Oakland, and that is the 61D, 71A, 71C, and 71D. They're going to terminate at the western end of Oakland and no longer serve uptown in Oakland or uptown and downtown Pittsburgh. Sorry. These routes, the 61D will utilize Forbes when it turns around, and the 71 series of the AC&P will stay on Fifth to continue to use the contraflow lanes on Fifth. These routes will have short added to their route name and their head sign designations that are on the vehicles. We understand that these are some significant changes, and they are classified as major service changes, but we are going to have staff out in the field to assist other customers beginning September 23rd through October 5th, and doing an extensive print and audio and online messaging campaign for these changes. We also conducted a public information session on September 12th as to provide a recap of that session. So we had 120 participants at this public information session, and the main concerns that we heard something about these changes is that it is largely regarding the transfers that some folks may have to do with these short-term routes. They are categorized, or cash users may have to pay twice if they're not using a Connect card or using the Ready to Ride application. Persons with disabilities needing to board two vehicles in a transfer, and the time delay that may occur as part of transferring them. We also heard concerns from some folks about not hearing about these changes until August. So our planning department wanted to provide some context to address some of these concerns. And a lot of this information is from our Title VI analysis of the BRT project. 97.7% of the riders that utilize the 61 series and the 71 series routes are still directly served by a downtown bound 1C ride utilizing their same stop today. Increasing the watershed of that analysis, 99% of the riders still have a 1C ride within a 5-minute walk. And 3% of riders on the shortened routes utilize cash. From a communication standpoint, the BRT project has been in the process for many years now. The public meetings on the service changes began in 2017 and continued in 2018 with over 1,400 interactions and participants. The formal public comment period for these changes began in November of 2022 after the plan was solidified and sent out to the public so that we could collect feedback and produce the Title VI document for the board. This included a public information session and public hearings to receive comment for the board consideration of these major changes. We received about 700 responses from the public comment period, and overwhelmingly, the majority of those comments were related to the P3 route. So PRT, we have deferred a decision on adopting the routing for the P3 recommendation of that PRT project until additional analysis is completed. The board adopted these major service changes minus the P3 routing in March of 2023, and we proceeded to get those changes ready for the October service change. In July, I presented to the Planning and Stakeholder Relations Committee the service plan for the BRT implementation for the October 1 service changes. So that completes my presentation and overview today of the major service changes. We do have one major service changes that's outstanding. It's the P17, and we do have a Title VI analysis for review.
And Philip,
Solution today.
this is Catherine. Before we
Yeah,
go on,
that's
I want to,
Catherine.
yeah, thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So before we move on, Philip, thank you for that recap. I did want to touch on a few things. We as an agency have not done a real substantive route change, potentially for more than a decade. We do modifications, we do small changes, but it has been a long time since we've done changes of this magnitude. And we understand that, you know, messing with somebody's trip, especially as we deal with manpower and scheduling issues, messing with people's trips makes them uncomfortable. But I do want to stress, we heard from over 1,000 people in the public comment window over the winter. So the information was out there for folks to hear back. We didn't hear from 1,000 people because folks couldn't get that information. And we are responsive. So as Philip noted, from the P3, which averages about 1,500 people a day, we heard back from about 400 commenters. That's about 30% of the ridership. That's a really strong response, and it makes sense for us to step back and modify proposals. When we come to this 61 through 71, we're talking 12,000 riders a day.
Back.
200 responses totals about just under 2%. So we definitely hear from folks, but the magnitude of the information, that the magnitude of response was very different on these. We will have, for a 2-week window, we'll have staff jumping on every trip coming past Atwood. We will be at almost every stop impacted downtown. There are cards on every vehicle in our fleet, giving information and directing folks where they can find more information. So we'll have a lot of folks that are getting out there, jumping on vehicles, talking to them. I would rather people tell us go away. I already heard. There's also a finite window where people pay attention. So when we got started with the August information, we targeted this window because, you know, July is far enough out. You know, when it's 3 months out, people pay less attention. It's just human nature. It was also during summer. So we don't want to make life more inconvenient for folks. Absolutely. We need to avoid the BRT construction. Downtown is historically where we always have the hardest time keeping routes on time. So turning back gives us a chance to be more timely. And as we are still in this place where it is a challenge to hire up, and it's not just a challenge for us to hire, it's a challenge in Cleveland or Indianapolis or, you know, York as well. As we're dealing with this, the more that we can move service and consolidate it to give us more hours to put back into making service reliable, benefits the entire network. So I just wanted to provide that context, and I will turn it back over to Philip and Anita.
Thanks, Catherine, for some clarification, and Philip for your presentation and updates. I was curious how, when Philip, you were saying you have staff in the field, and I believe Catherine just clarified what that meant. So there will be staff riding on some of the routes and redirecting and helping people navigate and ask any questions. Is that staff? And that's what staff in the field look
Yes,
like?
ma'am.
Okay,
It
thank you.
means folks getting, yes, ma'am, means people jumping on every bus coming through a couple of block area to make sure folks are aware of this. It's people standing at bus stops, answering questions. It is a big presence, definitely focusing on the few days leading up to it and the few days afterward to make sure, hey, you've seen this, you know what is happening.
Mhm.
Yes, ma'am.
So we're being very proactive and and informative, transparent, which is great.
Thank you.
And do you have any questions?
No.
The a couple of things we talked about just earlier. Routing on the 71 B is going to stay the same. The stops are going to stay the same for now, right? Correct. No changes there. The other two, there's going to be an increase in the amount of 82s, which should be mentioned also because again, we're trying to give people options that are going to exist. Is that true of the 86 too? Is the 86 going to have more routes or are they going to stay the same?
Yes, there's additional trips on the, I believe the 86, the 82, the P1 and the P7 with the October service change to support, some of the getting folks that continued once you ride that we're trying to achieve.
Just clarification. So listening to the public comments over the period of time, we have followed some of those public comments, obviously, because originally the 61 A, B, and A, B, and C were part of this. They're no longer part of it. So anyway, I guess will we have an opportunity to make adjustments once we put this in place?
Correct. One of the advantages of BRT compared to light rail is that, it is rubber with vehicles and, while we have to maintain a certain BRT level of service with our federally funded program, the routes that aren't part of the BRT, we can continue to evaluate over time and see what potential changes that need to be made. So nothing's completely set in stone as we continue to evaluate in our network, continues to change over time.
One thing I think is important is to be as transparent as possible on the processes. Now, are there any other board members that have questions of Philip? Okay, well, look, thank you very much, Philip, and looking forward to October 1st. We are taking it again already.
Thank you very much.
Next up, we have a resolution, and I think you're going to make that resolution.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Fabiana Zafra, Senior Service Analyst and Department. Today I'm going to present the Title VI analysis for Route P17. This resolution is for authorization to approve Title VI analysis for October 2023 major service change to Route P17 Linden Flyer. This resolution would approve and adopt the P17 Title VI analysis report, which is Exhibit A to the resolution. P17 service changes and the Title VI findings are summarized on the slides after. This resolution would also authorize PRT staff to proceed with implementation of the P17 major service changes for more fully detailed exhibit. They are fully detailed in the Exhibit A report. These changes are expected to occur in October 2023 with the other October major service changes. This slide shows the summary of the P17 route changes. The route will now have a reverse commute service, which will follow the same route as the current weekday commute service. The new P17 service will also include a variant that will extend to Wilkinsburg Station via East Hills during AM and PM peak. This will give our East Hills, which is Route 79 riders, a direct connection to and from downtown. This slide will show the summary of the Title VI findings. In the service change area, low-income population is 24%, whereas in the PRT service area, our low-income population is 19%. The percent difference here is 32%, but since this is a service addition and is a positive change, there are no adverse impacts to the low-income community. As for minority population in the service area, we have 51% minority, whereas in PRT service area, we have 31% minority. the percent difference here is 6%, but since again, this is a positive change, there are no adverse impacts due to percentage change. This concludes my presentation. Subject to any committee member questions, I would respectfully request that the committee recommends this resolution for full board member approval.
Thank you. Big question. Any, any questions? First, let me, can I have a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Any questions of committee members? Any questions of other board members?
Hey, John, this is Michelle. A quick question. Do we have an idea of how many people this impacts in the AM PM service? You may not have that number right now, but I'm just wondering how many people does it affect in the morning rush, heavy traffic, and afternoon?
We looked at the total miles and hours change, but we can't look at the regular change and get back to you.
Is that okay, Michelle? Are you? All right.
Hey, it's Jeff, John. Are we missing a formal resolution here?
No, there, we made the resolution and made that motion, and Stephanie seconded it.
No, I know that, but I mean, it looks like we're missing in the slide presentation here, the formal resolution, the form of resolution. Mike, is that, because I haven't seen it.
It was referenced on the first slide, Mr. Letwin.
Okay.
This was, yeah, and then we have the resolution in the packet, so I think we were in good shape.
Okay.
That work, Jeff?
Yep.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 It's unanimous, so, thank you again for your presentation.
Thank you.
Next item is the most exciting part of my meeting. One motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
No. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, we'll give everybody a second to pull up the agenda for the finance committee as it started here in a second. The finance committee meeting for September 18th. The first item of business is a roll call of our committee members. So committee member Liptak, are you present?
Here.
Member Cotton,
Here.
Representative Piscatano,
Here.
any other board members, please identify yourselves.
John King, good to see you.
Jeff
Nice to
Letwin.
see you, Mr. Tang.
Stephanie Terman.
Michelle Smianik,
Allie Doyle. Lori Mizgorski.
Thank you. All right. Next, we have approval of minutes of the July 20th, 2023 Finance Committee meeting. Do I have any comments or corrections for the minutes? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, next, proposed resolution to authorize entering into an agreement to provide chief investment officer services.
Morning, Madam Chair and other board members. My name is Peter Schenk, Controller of PRT. I have one resolution this morning for your consideration, and this is for authorization to enter into an agreement for a chief investment officer for the consolidated pension plan and also the deferred compensation retirement plan in accordance with the PRT's board adopted procurement policies. A RFP was advertised for the chief investment officer services. And just as review, the consolidated pension plan is a closed plan. So anybody hired non-union after September of 2011 is no longer in the allowed to get into the defined benefit pension plan. And if you're an IBW employee, that was January 2012. So it's a closed pension plan. The CIO services that are part of this scope, like I said, covers the defined benefit pension plan, the 457 deferred compensation plan, and the 401A money purchase plan. The scope of services for this RFP included, but were not limited to a review of the current investment policy. They recommend an asset allocation for the assets in the defined benefit plan. They recommend investment managers for the defined benefit plan and also for the deferred compensation plan. And they provide quarterly reviews of the performance of the plans, and they provide that to the pension board, consolidated pension board.
Oops, sorry.
That's fine. So this RFP was publicly advertised on July 11, 2023. Three proposals were received. We had an evaluation committee made up of 8 members from both the Human Resources Department and also the Finance Division. The evaluation committee met and reviewed the proposals, and the committee is recommending Marquette and Associates as the highest rated proposal. And it should be noted that Marquette is also using the firm, which is Financial Integrity Resources Management, as a certified DPE on this contract. This contract will be for a 3-year period with the option, PRT's option for 2 additional years at our sole discretion. And the total amount not to exceed the 3-year period would be $718,000. Can I answer any questions on that resolution?
Any questions from committee members?
This is Jeff. I just want to make clear, we're not hiring a chief investment officer. We're hiring a company to provide chief investment officer services.
Yeah, so everything still does have to be approved by the pension board, the consolidated pension board. So yes, that is correct. They are making recommendations to the pension board, who does have to approve those. So it's not you're right, not a true CIO model, where they're left to their own discretion. All of this has to be approved by the pension board.
Thanks, Pete.
Yeah.
Any other questions from committee or board members? And do I have a motion to approve? A motion to, motion to award the resolution off to board's full consideration next week. Thank you. I have a motion from Jen. I do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you. All right, and we'll stay up there and review the July and August financial statements.
All right, yes, so since we did not have a meeting last month, we're going to review both the July and August financial statements. We'll look at the July as a standalone and also the August as a standalone. And then we have 2 slides on year to date from both a revenue and expense perspective. So just some of the high level themes here is that passenger revenues do continue to creep up over the past 18 months, and the July and August do continue that trend. From a July standalone perspective, our and this on the revenue side, as you can see, we're about $700,000 over in total revenues. Passenger fares about $400,000 over budget for the month of July. And other revenue, principally investment income, about $300,000 over budget, constituting that $700,000 over budget for the month of July only. Looking at July versus the year previous, passenger fares $700,000 above last year's levels in July. Access revenues up about $200,000 versus last July. And then other income about $500,000 higher than last July. And that's principally due to investment income. From a expense perspective, just for the month of July, we are continuing the trend of the previous fiscal year. We're under budget in expenses by about $5.9 million. 1.2 of that due to lower wages and benefits, $600,000 in materials, and all other, which includes things like purchase services, other expenses, that sort of thing. About $4.1 million under budget. Looking at July only versus the previous year. For July only, $200,000 higher in wages and benefits, $900,000 in materials, and $200,000 in access expense. All other expenses about $500,000 lower than last July. For August, and just August by itself, from a revenue perspective, about $100,000 higher, and that was principally due to the higher investment income that we're receiving on our cash reserves. Looking at August only versus last year, about $700,000 higher in passenger fares, so that's good news. Access expense about $100,000 higher than last August, and all others about $300,000
Thank you.
higher
You too.
than last August. The expenses for just August, for August, we're $1.4 million lower in wages, benefits, $500,000 lower in materials, and $2.5 million lower in all other categories. So that's about $4.3 million lower on the expense side, similar to how it was in July. If you look at August only versus the year previously, about $1.9 million higher in expenses. So now from a year-to-date expenses, we're only at July and August year-to-date on the revenue basis, $700,000 higher in revenues, $300,000 of that due to passenger fares, and $400,000 to all other revenues. And as I mentioned, we're higher in total revenues year-to-date than last July and August, and $1.5 million of that is due to higher passenger revenues through the first 2 months of the fiscal year. From the year-to-date basis on the expense side, we are about $2.6 million higher in total expense than last fiscal year, and 1.3 of that due to higher wages and benefits, even contractual increases. Materials, $1 million higher, access expense, $300,000 higher than last fiscal year. Just to give you an update on where we are in federal stimulus, since the presentation in July. We did do another invoice about $7.1 million. So we've completely invoiced the ARPA and the CARES funding, and now we've tapped into the CRISA dollars, and we'll probably do another invoice today for about $10 million against the CRISA grant. Operating reserves, we began the month of August with $283.1 million. We had cash receipts of approximately $22 million, including $11 million in state operating assistance. We had cash outflows of $39.3 million for wages, benefits, materials and supplies, and other expense. And that left us at $265.8 million at the end of August. That went down. We're awaiting some state operating assistance in addition to that $11 million that I mentioned, and I'm going to get that today or tomorrow. So that'll have July, August, and also September state operating assistance. So that the operating reserve should increase dramatically for next month. Can I answer any questions on my financials?
Any questions from committee or board members on the financials? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That was our last bit of business. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second. Thank you. We'll see everyone in October.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michelle Smianek, and welcome to the Performance Oversight Committee. And if you are ready, I am ready to proceed. Anyone need a moment? Okay. If not, we're moving forward to roll call. So for our members this morning, Lori Magorski, are you present?
Yes, I'm here. Good morning.
Good morning. Representative Piscatano, are you here?
Good morning.
this
I'm
morning?
here.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for being here. Any other board members, please state your name for the record.
Jeff Letwin.
Montag.
Anna
Joe
Gord.
Totten.
Allie Doyle.
Jen Liptak.
Okay, good morning. Thank you, everyone. Our first item of business this morning is approval of minutes of the July 20th, 23 Performance Oversight Committee. Do we have any additions or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, could I have a motion to approve our July 20th minutes?
So moved.
Motion.
Well,
Very good.
second.
I'll take that as a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? No. Motion carries to approve the minutes. Very good. Moving on to item number 3, the most exciting time here, our proposed resolutions. So we're starting with awarding of bids. So good morning, Mr. Armin Ward. How are you?
Good morning, Madam Chair and Performance Oversight Committee members. I have 4 bid items for you this morning for approval to take to the board for recommendation. All bids were publicly advertised and key business documents were distributed. The very first one is our bag rock salt items that will be utilized at all of our PRT locations. The apparent low bidder proposed an item that was rejected, and therefore they couldn't meet the specification. So therefore we made them ineligible for an award. So we're recommending that the contract be awarded to the lowest responsible bidder, which submitted a responsive bid to American Salt Company in the estimated total amount of $570,750 over a 3-year period. This price represents a 34% increase from the previous contract 3 years ago. Although this was an increase, this was well within the budget that was funded, and staff has determined that the price is fair and reasonable. Number 2 is our bicycle racks on our coach buses. This is the stainless steel fold-down bicycle racks that are mounted to the front of our coach buses. This contract is for a 2-year period and will be utilized at our PRT bus garages and as well as our bus maintenance facility. 4 firms accepted the invitation and 4 bids were received for these items. We are recommending that a contract be awarded to the lowest responsible bidder, Sportsworks Global, in the estimated amount of $223,307.30. This price represents an average of 24.5% increase per year. And this is for a total of the 2-year period since the last time that we contracted for these services. This is due to the inflation and the rising cost of the medical components in the global industry. Although this was a significant increase, it was still well within our independent cost estimate and consistent with the funds that were budgeted. So therefore, staff has determined that the price be fair and reasonable for these items. Number 3 is our bus manufacturing inspection oversight services. PRT requires an impartial position for oversight of our manufacturing of our most recent bus procurement purchases with New Flyer, instead of New Flyer inspecting their own, production of our buses. So therefore, we went out to bid and four firms accepted the invitation and 4 bids were received. We are recommending that the contract be awarded to the lowest responsible bidder, which submitted a responsive bid to Southeast Transit Services, LLC, in the estimated amount of $181,219.40. Staff has determined that the price be fair and reasonable for these funds that were budgeted. And then the very last one are nitrile gloves. These products will be for a 2-year period, contract period, and the products will be utilized at our PRT maintenance shops and utilized by our janitorial employees at our various locations. 34 firms accepted the invitation and 34 bids were received for the nitrile gloves. 9 apparent low bidders proposed products that did not meet the specification and therefore were deemed ineligible for award. Therefore, we're recommending a contract to be recommended to the low responsive bidder, Walters Office Products, and an estimated amount of $137,760 for this period, to 2-year period. The price represents actually a 2% decrease from the last time that we purchased these services. Therefore, we consider the price to be fair and reasonable. If there aren't any additional questions, I am respectfully asking for all items to be moved to the full board for consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Ward. Any questions from my committee members? Any questions from any of the board members for Ms. Ward? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve and send this forward to the full board?
Hang on a second, Michelle. We've got one question here in the room.
Okay, thanks, Sandy. I thought I heard everything. Okay.
Sorry, I just had a question on the bicycle racks. Are these replacements or are they new ones that go on new buses as they come in?
These are replacements and new ones.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, great. Hearing no other questions, could I have a motion to move this forward to the full board?
Motion.
Second.
Second. Great, thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Very good. Thank you, Ms. Ward.
Thank you.
Moving on to item B, authorization to convey real estate property to B&D Amic Properties. LLC, and Mr. Mike Setra. Good morning.
Good morning, Madam Committee Chairwoman, committee members, and other board members. The first resolution that I have for the committee's consideration this morning would authorize PRT to convey a parcel of real property to B&B Emmett Properties LLC. PRT owns the property, which is an approximately 3,223 square foot parcel of vacant land that is partially paved. And it's located between 15 and 17 Sycamore Street in the borough of Carnegie. PRT acquired the property utilizing federal transit funds in November of 1996 as part of the West Busway project construction. And if we can go to the next slide for I have a rare visual here. If you see the highlighted parcel there, you can see kind of up to your left of the screen where the West Busway is. And you see there highlighted where this parcel is. For what we can ascertain in our real estate files, it was acquired for some equipment staging during construction. We have identified the property as excess, meaning it has no current or planned future public transit use. And when that happens, per our federal regulations, we are to put that property out for bid to the highest responsive bidder. So we put this property out for bid for a minimum asking price of $22,000, which was based on an appraised fair market value of the property. We did that in March. We opened bids in May, and we received one responsive bid from B&D Emmett Properties LLC to acquire the property for $27,500. They were an anticipated bidder because they own a manufacturing facility adjacent to the lot and have expressed an interest in acquiring it so they can expand their manufacturing and maintain their manufacturing in Carnegie, PA. So it's to be a positive all around thing. Following confirmation that that bid was responsive and that this was a responsible bidder, we did enter into an agreement of sale with Emmett Properties to convey the property, which is subject to the PRT board approval and Federal Transit Administration concurrence because of the ongoing federal interest in the property due to it being acquired with federal transit funds. This resolution would authorize this sale. Subject to the receipt of the FTA concurrence, which is pending at this time. We got that request in the FTA and they know we're coming to our board this month. So we're hoping to see their response over the next week or two here. And otherwise in a deed form approved by PRT's legal counsel. Subject to any member questions, I would respectfully request that the Performance Oversight Committee recommend this resolution to the full board for approval.
Thank you, Mr. Setra. Any questions from our committee members? Any questions from any other board members? Hearing no questions, can I have a motion to move this forward to the full board?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. And moving along with item C, authorization to enter into an agreement for sale in, hang here, of condemnation with Duquesne University and the Holy Spirit for BRT Project Phase 2 property.
Yes, thank you, Madam Committee Chairwoman. Sticking with the real estate theme, this next resolution would have that I have for the committee's consideration would authorize PRT to purchase. So this time we want to purchase parcel of real property from Duquesne University. As the committee is well aware, PRT has advanced the planning, design, and construction of the downtown Uptown Oakland Bus Rapid Transit project over the past several years with phase 1 downtown loop construction activities beginning this month and phase 2 nearing readiness for issuance of a request for construction bids. As part of the project, we've acquired various rights of way needed to construct and operate the BRT line for private property owners voluntarily in lieu of condemnation. And to date, that has included 129 license agreements for sidewalk work, 69 temporary construction easements for roadway station utility work, and 7 property purchases for BRT stations and other permanent BRT project-related improvements. The project team has identified this property owned by Duquesne University, which is it's a small sliver of property. Next slide, please. I don't know if I've ever had 2 visuals for the but here we are. But you can see here we are on Forbes Avenue here near the main entrance to Duquesne University on McNulty Drive, and you can kind of see that red crosshatched parcel there. So this would be for a portion of a new PRT station at this location. The remainder of the station would be at the existing city right of way for a cooperation agreement with the city for the project. But we did, again, per federal regulations, we did appraise the value of this property, and we made an offer to Duquesne University to acquire the property. They've accepted our offer, and we have we have pending execution, an agreement in lieu of condemnation to acquire the property for Duquesne for $44,250. This resolution would authorize PRT to proceed with finalizing the agreement, and consistent with the terms in the board resolution in your packets this morning, and otherwise in an agreement in deed form approved by PRT legal counsel. So subject to any member questions, I would respectfully request that this resolution be recommended to the full board for approval.
Thank you, Mike. Questions from committee members? Questions from other board members? Hearing no questions from Mr. Sutter on the issue, may I have a motion to move this forward?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Very good. Thank you. Moving along to item D on our agenda, authorization to adopt collective bargaining agreement with Port Authority Transit Police Association covering sergeants and lieutenants.
Yes, thank you again, Madam Committee Chairwoman. This final resolution that I have for the committee's consideration this morning would authorize PRT to enter into an amended collective bargaining agreement with the Port Authority Transit Police Association for an agreement covering sergeants, lieutenants, and police supervisors. The current agreement between the parties is set to expire in July of 2024. As members may recall, we successfully negotiated a new collective bargaining agreement for rank and file officers earlier this year that was ratified by the board and took effect on August 1 of this year. Since that time, we have engaged in further good faith bargaining with the Port Authority Transit Police Association in an effort to reach a new agreement for the police supervisors. Before the committee this morning, as Exhibit A in your packet, is the tentative agreement that the parties recently reached. And I would just highlight briefly, it will be a one-year term commencing in 24 with the expiration of the current agreement and running through July of 2025. It would include a reopener provision, which would allow PRT and PATPA to essentially try to get right now our rank and file agreement and our supervisor's agreement are staggered, so they run a year differently. But the goal would be to get them when we next bargain, get them onto the same term schedule, which is just more efficient for both parties, and from a budgeting perspective, much more efficient for PRT. We also would be adjusting wages, as we discussed earlier this year with the committee and the board. We've had significant challenges hiring and retaining officers, so the rank and file agreement increased officer salaries approximately 18%, and this agreement would make similar salary adjustments, approximately 24%, which also addresses some additional compression because of that one-year agreement difference to the supervisor salaries. So that a first-year sergeant would make approximately $56,000 a year. That would reach approximately $92,000 in a three-year progression, which is the wage progression under this agreement. And then a new starting salary of $69,741.63. For lieutenants, that would reach $102,259.08 on that same three-year progression under the proposed wages here. Other provisions would include the COVID-19 attendance bonus, which is similar to what was provided to ATU in their contract in 2022, and the rank and file officers early this year, which provides $1 per hour up to $4,000 for all hours actually worked during the height of the pandemic. And finally, this would also adjust sick days so that new supervisors receive 5 sick days. And then there's related adjustments to the sick day accruals based upon years of service. And if this agreement is ultimately recommended by the committee and approved by the board, this would line up all of our bargaining units and our non-represented personnel with the same sick day allotments. So I would add, having membership recently ratified the terms of the proposed agreement. So we have it before the committee today for consideration, and subject to any member questions, I would request that the committee recommend this agreement for ratification to the full board.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Sutter. Any questions from committee members?
I don't
Hearing
have any
none,
questions.
I'm sorry.
I don't want to have any questions, but I want to make a comment. Thank you for putting together this agreement to help retain our police supervisors and bring them up to keep them in line with other authorities and police in the county and the suburbs as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. I appreciate that comment. I'm sure Mike does too. Okay, great.
Absolutely. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, very good. Any questions from other board members or comments? Hearing none, can I have a motion to move this forward to the full board next week?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Sutter, thank you very much for this. Thank you for your hard work on this. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you for the committee and the board support of our police officers. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Moving on to item 4 of our agenda. We're having a financial year 2023 physical inventory audit report from Hazita Bahari. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. The internal audit department is presenting the results of the FY 2023 annual physical inventory. The objective of the audit was to determine the adequacy of internal controls, if items were accurately counted, and if the kind of process was properly followed for the position and receipts issued before and after the inventory. The scope of the audit was FY 2023. Detailed audit methodology can be found on the full report. We observed the employees as they counted the inventory item. We also statistically sampled and tested in inventory counts at the various locations. In addition, selected some judgmental testing based on testing the statistics, the valid sample and the margin of error of 5% and 95% confidence, which gives us accuracy rate of 88.59% and 13.59%. Statement of opinion. In our opinion, in general, the FY 2023 inventory was conducted in a manner that provides reasonable assurance that the inventory items were accurately counted. Adjustments to the on-hand quantity were recorded correctly in people's count. The cut-off process was properly followed for the positions and receipts issued before and after the inventory. And also, significant variances were resolved and reported correctly in people's count. We noticed some strengths based on the audit. Cut-off processes were well controlled. All 80, which is 100% of the positions and receipts that were reviewed as part of the inventory were processed according to the cut-off instructions. And also prior to the start of the inventory, the manager of purchasing materials worked with the manager of inventory operations to identify items which have more than one bin location and to review and adequately resolve these items. And also in general, the overflow stock notices were effectively used and typically placed for items with overflow stocks. We are pleased to report that the audit resulted in no observations or advisory and in line with our auditing standards. We were required to follow up on prior audit recommendations, and we are glad to notice that all advisory comments and recommendations have been closed as of today. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions from any of the core of our committee members? Questions or comments from any board members?
My only comment is that there's a lot of work put into this, and thank you for your time and effort. A lot of this stuff is the board member. You're looking at these exciting resolutions and all. This is extremely important. And, it seems like you guys are doing a good job. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate your report and answering all of the questions that we have. Well, we are at the end of our agenda at this point, so I have no other further business. Could I have a motion to conclude and dismiss?
So moved.
Great. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
We are in.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for participating this morning. Thank you.
Okay, I'll give everyone a moment to switch over. I believe we have a short agenda for the Technology Committee. Okay, I'm pulling up my agenda now. So I would like to call the meeting of the Technology Committee to order. I'm Chair Jen Liptak, and I'd like to do a roll call of chair of committee members first. Committee members, please identify yourself.
Lori Mizgorski.
Joe Totten.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And welcome, Joe, to the Technology Committee. We appreciate. Can other board members identify themselves for the record, please?
Jeff Letwin.
Allie Doyle.
Nick
Michelle.
Pizzuto.
Okay, thank you very much. So the first order of business will be the approval of the minutes of the 2023 Technology Committee meeting. May I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, I'll take that as a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Okay, we have one order of business. So we have an awarding of the bids. Please proceed.
Morning again, Madam Chair and Technology Committee members. I just have one item for your consideration for full board approval. This is our authentication license renewal with Okta that we're asking for recommendation. This is a 3-year agreement. 3 firms accepted the invitation and 3 firms issued a bid for these particular licenses. The apparent low bidder submitted some, I'm sorry. The apparent low bidder submitted some items that caused them to not meet the specification and therefore was ineligible for award. So therefore, we're recommending a contract be awarded to the lowest responsible bidder, Philly Tom Inc., in the estimated amount of $593,286. The difference between the first low bidder and this bidder was under $300. So therefore, staff has determined that the price be fair and reasonable and well within the funds that were budgeted. If there aren't any additional questions, I respectfully ask for this item to be moved to the full board for consideration.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I don't have any questions, but I'll ask committee members if you do, please.
None here, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, hearing none. Are there any board members that have any questions related to this item? No, hearing none. I will then entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
And I can second. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion is approved, and the bids will move forward to the next meeting. I believe there's no other business before to come before the committee today. Is that correct, Mr. Devlin?
That's correct.
And there are no more committee meetings for the day. Is that correct, Mr. Cetra?
That's correct.
Okay, with that, I'd like to thank everyone on behalf of the board and of the staff of the Port Authority for participation today. With that, the meeting Technology Committee adjourns, and the meetings of the committees for the Pittsburgh Regional Transit. I swear, Catherine, I'll get it right soon. For PRT, everyone have a very nice day. Goodbye.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Have a good day.
Thank you. We stand adjourned.
Huh?